Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Rundown. I'm Sunny Galt. I'm a messenger with United Network News, which is UNN. And UNN is the official news channel for CARE, which stands for the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. And what makes us different is we discuss the real news. Now, you may think you're getting the real news when you turn on your TV and you flip through the channels. You know, you got a bunch of news channels out there, right? Or maybe you listen to the radio, or maybe you're on YouTube or BitChute or Rumble. Doesn't matter which site you go to. You either have mainstream media that is fed a narrative, or you have the alternative media, which is fed a narrative. But the interesting thing is both of those places, right, mainstream or alternative, they're getting their information from the exact same people. The exact same people are at the top, feeding one narrative to one side and another narrative to the other side, which gives us the illusion of different things happening and that there's a good side and a bad side and they're fighting each other and you got the white hats and all this kind of stuff. It's all a bunch of baloney, okay? What we discuss is what's really happening not only in our communities, but in our states, in our countries, in our world, and even beyond our world. And we bring you the real news because we don't pay attention to their sources. We have our own sources, and that's going straight to the source of whatever is happening. And we have the highest security clearance, period, in the world. We have access to the highest security clearance. And that's how we get our information. That's why it is different. And you will not hear what we discuss, especially in our World Situation Report. You will not hear that information anywhere else unless someone steals it from us. So this is definitely the first place you're going to hear it. And we usually give this information out through our newscast. We have a newscast that's released through our online distribution platform every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that is a subscription-based platform. So if you want more information on that, you can visit unitednetwork.tv. On this podcast, we highlight some of the stories that we cover on the newscast. And we also talk about local stories. We do this through our field messengers. And I'll tell you a little bit more about them in just a bit. But we also talk about world stories. And as I mentioned, we have a World Situation Report. Our World Situation Report is unlike anything you have ever heard before. If you're brand new to us, you're going to hear stuff here that's going to blow your mind. You may have to take a minute, process it, take a lot of notes, come back to it, do some research, and that's okay. But this is the real news. This is what's really happening. And we also encourage you to just do your own research. Don't take what anybody says and just run with it. We have to stop believing people just because they appear to have some sort of authority, because that's how we've been tricked for a very, very long time in believing lies. Just because someone is on TV or someone has a podcast or a radio show or a popular YouTube channel or they're an influencer or whatever means diddly squat. You know, usually it's some sort of controlled system to get them to that point. So you think that they're popular. So don't worry about them. Don't worry about, someone has authority, oh, I have to listen to them. Forget that. We are no longer following those rules. I need you to think critically whenever possible and ask questions. And that goes for what I say on this podcast, what we talk about on our newscasts, anything. You have to start thinking for yourself, because if we start doing that, a lot of the stuff out there is not going to make any sense. But you got to take the time. And that's what they're counting on to not happen. See, they're trying to keep us super duper busy on this planet so that, we wake up, we brush our teeth, we eat breakfast, we go to work, we take care of our kids, we do extracurricular activities with our kids, we cook dinner and we come home. We're so exhausted that we don't have time to contemplate the big things that are happening in this world. We are just trying to make enough money to put food on the table, to pay our taxes and all the other money that they steal from us. So we have to put all that aside and really start thinking about the information that's being fed to us. And what I hope to do with this podcast is to get you thinking. What do you guys think? You ready to do some critical thinking today? Let's get started. Here is the rundown for Monday, September 11th, 2023. So all of our newscasts start out with what we call our field messengers and their reports. Field messengers are basically like citizen journalists. They don't necessarily have any kind of training, whether that's production, journalism, anything like that. They are real people reporting on what is happening in their communities, which often differs from what mainstream and even alternative media are telling you that's happening in their communities. And we happen to be of the belief that we would rather believe someone that is actually there and doesn't have some sort of ulterior motive. So in each newscast, we have a couple reports, and the two that we have today, one is about human trafficking, and that comes from Wayne in Arizona. And Wayne has a unique perspective based on where he's at, because he has seen what he believes are evidence of human trafficking along the Arizona-Mexico border. And he shows us in his field messenger report how different types of clothing and water bottles and kind of backpacky kind of things have been left behind. And that's part of people coming through these mountains that are close by. And they're bringing people, right, across the border. And, they have certain things that they're wearing when they're, bringing people over, and then they get over here to the United States and they quickly change their clothes. They just basically strip off one set of clothing and then they're in normal clothes, right? Where no one would recognize them or think that they're trying to smuggle people into the US or anything like that. And then they get into cars and they disappear into the US, and then we have no idea where they go. And what's interesting about this is a lot of this is happening right next to a fire station. And I'm not suggesting that the fire station even knows what's going on. But what I think is interesting about this is that these people are getting more and more brazen with their efforts. Because you would think, a lot of people don't even know that human trafficking is a really big problem. But you would think if there was a fire department across the street that someone would see something at some time, because a fire department is going to have people there at all hours in case there is a fire. So even if they're doing this in the middle of the night, you'd think someone would see something, say something. But to our knowledge, that hasn't happened. And so what was great about this report is we actually saw some remnants, some things on the ground that didn't make sense. It's like, this thing is not, one of these things is not like the other. And you wouldn't normally see this kind of stuff just laying around. So thank you to Wayne in Arizona for pointing that out to us. And then our second story that we talk about, it's also interesting. It's regarding missile silos. So have you ever seen I've seen different TV shows talk about missile silos. Well, did you know that they can actually be toxic, which actually makes sense, right? And so our field messenger, Teasel from Montana, that's where she's from, and she wanted to raise awareness about this. She actually pulled up an AP article recently where the reporter in that article was talking about how silos could be connected to an increased risk of cancer. And Teasel has been personally impacted by this. She actually grew up right near a silo, and I believe she said it was on her family's property. The government at some point took it away, took the land away, eminent domain or something like that. Well, later on, Teasel developed cancer. Now, thankfully, she's cancer-free, but obviously she's personally connected to this story, and she wants to raise awareness about the toxicity of missile silos. So if you guys want to check out those stories, you can do so on our Telegram channel. There is a link in the description. And those reports are free to anybody. So you do not have to have a subscription in order to view those videos. And sometimes we have a longer version of the story and then a shorter version runs on the news. So the longer versions are what we promote, through our Telegram channel. If you're interested in becoming a field messenger for us, and there's no commitment, we don't say you have to do X amount of reports or anything like that. But if there's something going on near where you live that you think is of importance, then we want to hear about it. So if you want more information on how to submit a story and the whole process and everything, you can head on over to our website, our news website, which is unitednetwork.news. And there is a section for field messengers, and we've got samples and all that good stuff. In our world stories, there's 4 different stories I'm going to go over, hopefully pretty quickly here. Some of this stuff I've said before on other podcasts, but I want to make sure if you're brand new and you're just catching this episode that you hear what we have to say about some of these big topics, and they keep occurring over and over again. So really quick, our lead story today was the Morocco earthquake. This is a 6.8 magnitude quake. What you need to know about this is weather modification has been going on for a very long time, and it's for nefarious purposes. Nobody's trying to just bring sunshine all over the planet. They're trying to cause destruction for very strategic reasons. And those reasons vary, but the result or the reason that this Morocco earthquake happened is there was actually remnants from the lower astral. So when we talk about the lower astral, most people would say, oh, that's hell, okay? But we call it the lower astral. Hell isn't quite the right term, but it's what most people associate with hell. So there was remnants from the lower astral to stop us, meaning humanity, the planet, to stop us from changing into a new age, which is a light age. If anyone, goes to church, if you have read the Bible and probably other resources as well, other historical resources as well as religious resources, there is a time where there is just light, where the light overcomes the dark. And that is the time period that we are entering into right now. And what you're seeing with a lot of this weather modification is essentially, like I said, there are remnants from the lower astral. It's like a program. And this particular program that affected Morocco was part of a program called the End Times. Isn't that interesting? So again, they don't want the planet to get too light, and there were a lot of things put into place to keep us down. They never thought we would get this far, and honestly, we couldn't without our Creator helping us. But that's the End Times program, which what we talk about a little bit later on in the World Situation Report has officially ended. All of their remnants and everything for, let's take out the planet, let's take out humanity before they get too light. All of that has come to an end. But that is the cause for the Morocco earthquake. And it's definitely unfortunate, and our hearts go out to everybody that's impacted. But with these big hurricanes, earthquakes, not the wildfires, not the Hawaii stuff, that was intentionally set, and not from big weapons either. They don't have, like, humanity, the bad humans on the planet right now do not have access to big weapons that can do that kind of stuff. These are other beings, you can call them demons, you can call them whatever you want, that literally do not like the light, they do not like positivity or anything that is of the light, okay? And so this was them trying to bring us down, but it was a computer program because those guys aren't even around anymore. So that's the Morocco earthquake. If you want to know the quick story behind what's really going on there you go. I guarantee you're not going to hear that anywhere else. Next, we have a story about the Square app shortage. And it's not just the Square app, but it's for point-of-sale platforms. And they were all hit up, and I believe it started on Thursday. And they're calling this a technical glitch. It impacted millions and millions of people, but it's Square, Apple Pay, Zelle, PayPal, all of those types of apps. I think Cash App is another one. And what happened was it forced businesses to shut down, or they had to take cash because these apps weren't working. And so the story behind this is that these outages were caused by deep state hacks. So these are actual human beings doing this. And what they're trying to do, they're broke. They are broke. And when I say deep state, I'm not talking about just, deep state is all over the world, you guys. This is not a U.S. thing. Trump didn't, come up with the term deep state. He's part of the deep state. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but he is. And so the deep state is everywhere. And right now, all governments everywhere and non-governmental organizations that are trying to bring down humanity, they all are broke. And so what we are starting to see now is they are trying to take money from the people in various ways. This was something that they tried to do. They're trying to take viable money from the financial system in any way they can throughout the entire world with their plan to crash everything. That's what they want to do. They are not going to accomplish this. They do not have the means to possibly do this, but there's a lot of fear porn out there on what people think they're capable of. And trust me, that is by design. They want people to be fearful. So please do not fall into that trap. The US dollar is not going to crash. The world is not going to crash. That is not happening. But that was their intent. And what they wanted to do was take the cash from these different systems, put it into a high yield trade to generate trillions of dollars for them so they could carry out whatever, virus they wanted to send out and other ways, war, famine, all the stuff that they love to do to make even more money. Well, they failed and there was no loss of income. Still, you guys may have experienced a little bit of an outage with, some of your payment systems, and that's the reason why. All right, next story is about surrogacy. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Now, the story we ran in the news is about surrogacy in Georgia. And I don't mean the state of Georgia for people here in the U.S. I'm talking about the country. And there is a bigger issue here. And that is, why are we seeing all these stories about surrogacy right now, and that surrogacy is in trouble, and that they're shutting down surrogacy centers, and the women that are reliant on this income are, they're concerned about this, obviously, because this is a huge way that they earn their income. And if that goes away, what are they going to do? And so really there's a big issue here, and it's not just with Georgia. But, I think we ran, was it last week or a couple weeks ago, we ran a story on the news about Ukraine. And Ukraine was a huge hub for surrogacy. Now, that should be a red flag for you in general. We're not going to go into the whole Ukraine thing and what's going on over there. But there's all these different places, and you keep seeing these different stories. Now, what you need to know is that most surrogate programs are not what they claim to be. They are not for the average person that can't conceive and have their own child. That's the way that these things are promoted. It's just like Oprah Winfrey's School for Girls in whatever country, name the country here. That was for nefarious purposes too, and it usually leads back to human trafficking in some way or another. And human trafficking can also be, the selling of babies. And it may not even be that these surrogate programs even know where these babies are going. But as you know, the economy is pretty rough right now. It doesn't matter what country you're in. And this may be the way that they're able to pay the bills. And so they may not know where their child or the baby that they gave birth to is even going to. But it's important to know that some of these programs, these adoptive programs, child protective services, don't even get me started on that, had these nefarious purposes. Now, that does not mean that everybody that's connected to these programs knew about the ultimate goal and what was happening behind the scenes. But when you see stories, especially stories that involve babies and kids missing, things like that, it begs the question, what in the world is really going on here? So a couple things. This could be a sign that people are waking up to the true intent of some of these organizations, and they're not allowing it. They're realizing that these babies are being sold, and where are these babies going? Are they being used in some satanic ritual? Are they being used for organ harvesting? Are they being used for sex trafficking? Because that's usually what happens. It's not usually some loving couple, that can't conceive that's going to get a baby. Maybe some, but there's a whole network to this. And it could also be that the buyers aren't buying anymore because there's so much stuff going on. I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, that's one of the things that we're trying to do is to curb all of this activity that is harming our children. We want it to go away completely. Now, it takes a little bit of time because it's big business. And I'm talking big, like bigger than drugs. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get rid of this, but it might be a combination of both of those things. And our last story is about homeschooling. So for those of you parents out there, I know this is something that I'm dealing with personally as well. And the story specifically is about Texas. So homeschooling is on the rise in Texas. Yeehaw! The story says 30,000 students between grade level 7 to 12 switched from public school to homeschool in the 2021 to 2022 school year. Now, a lot of that was probably COVID related. But what we're seeing is people are staying. And not only that, but the numbers are getting higher and higher. So the homeschool population is growing nationally, and the number is 3.1 million students in the U.S. are doing homeschool in 2022. So that would have been last year. And it'll be really interesting when the numbers come out for 2023. How much has it grown? And the surge, what they're attributing all of this to, is a mishandling of COVID, teaching ineptitude, and concerns about values and the beliefs that are taught in the school. Because the parents are looking at this now going, wow, yeah, I just kind of put my kids in school and, I don't really know exactly what they're teaching them. And then you hear this stuff on the news and, whatever theory is being taught here. And you think, wow, I really should be a little bit more involved. And I know it's difficult. I mean, I'm in that position right now where I can't completely take my kids out of regular school and homeschool them. That would be my ideal, or some sort of online school would be exactly what I would want for my kids. They're still in public school right now. And I see this stuff going on. My daughter brought this paper home the other day, and I can't remember what it was called right now, but the title was something like, How the Government is Going to Save Us from Natural Disasters. And my head just sank. And I was like, oh my gosh, the propaganda. Please. Really, government? I mean, is that what you did in Hawaii? The government is coming to save us? No, I don't think so. So I see this kind of stuff, and I feel for the parents out there that are like, oh gosh, I really want to do this, but our financial situation isn't there. I mean, that's our situation. We've got 4 kids. So to put them all in a good, internet-based school is really expensive. But I'm encouraged by these numbers. I'm encouraged by the boom. I'm encouraged by more and more, parents taking that leap. And they're doing it for good reasons. And the test scores are showing it. It says homeschool students outperform with test scores as well, 15 to 20% higher. And that is regardless of their parents' education. So you can't just say, oh, well, their parents are smart, so those are smart kids. No, it's about how the information is presented to them. And so all of that's really encouraging. And now it's time for our World Situation Report. So Kimberly Goguen from the Office of the Guardian joins us for our report that we do. We usually do it every newscast, but Kim's been really busy lately. So we didn't have one on Friday, which is why an episode didn't come out on Friday. But Kim was back today. And in fact, you guys are in for a treat because Kim wanted all of today's World Situation Report to be released to everybody. So like I said earlier, usually that's behind a paywall. And then on this podcast, we give you some clips. But today I get to just release the whole thing to you, which is another reason why today's episode is a lot longer than it normally is. So I just want to set up some things from the very beginning because it's going to be a long chunk of content. I'm literally just going to play the whole World Situation Report for you. But Kim starts by talking about all these meetings that are supposed to be happening right now. So this was a crucial time in the past, not necessarily this year, but in the past, this time was really crucial for orders to come down from on high. And I'm not talking about God, the creator, on high. I am talking about beings at the top, demonic beings, Lucifer, whatever you want to call it. That's the top of the bad pyramid, okay? The people that are trying to ruin our planet and do everything. So they were at the top, and then there were a lot of levels below them. And at the very, 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 very bottom, many, 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 many layers down were governments. And then below the governments, obviously, you have the people. And the problem with this setup, of course, this was intentionally set up this way, is that everything is compartmentalized. So when you try to take a structure like this down, what we did is we started at the top. Okay. And there's a lot of people helping. It's not just Kim, it's not just one person. There's a lot of beings helping to do this because it's time that the system goes away. But here's the thing. Most people don't know the things at the top even exist. You may have thought that, let's say you're part of the system. You may have thought that you were, the head honcho of stuff. And that was designed. They want you to feel special, so you'll continue to do stuff for them. And, maybe they blackmail you and threaten you and do a lot of different things. But that's part of the whole system is you don't know the master plan. It's like the military. It's the generals at the top that have the entire plan. You just enlisted. You don't know anything. And that's how they did that because they wanted to maintain control. So when you try to disassemble this, the problem that we're running into now is that we are at the bottom. So many levels have been taken out, levels that most people didn't even know existed. And now we're at the bottom where we're working with, or we were trying to, up until last week, we were trying to work with the military all over the world. We were, trying to talk to these people, trying to talk some sense into them because these people think they're fighting for the white hats. And that Trump is saving babies and all this kind of stuff. That's not happening. But there are people that think that they are on the right side because, again, this is how they get people to do what they want them to do. And they don't realize that, again, it's the same people at the top, that are, pulling all the strings. Now, the people at the top, the new top, again, because most of it's been taken out. So the people at the new top are also trying to vie for power right now. So you've got a lot of different groups that are yelling at each other and all this kind of stuff. But what was supposed to happen at this time is orders were supposed to come down from the very top. So the others and the demons, all those entities, all those things got together. They would determine for the next year what the plan was, and then they would send it down the chain of command. Well, along with the orders would have come a bunch of money to carry out these plans. This is how our financial system is actually structured. Most people don't even realize this, but that's how everything was organized. The problem is you don't have the people at the top anymore giving the orders and sending out the money. They don't even have control of the financial system anymore. The good guys have control, and the good guys, I'm not talking about the white hats, okay? So they don't have access to any money and they are running scared. They are dry, meaning they don't have any money to pay for their wars and their famine and their viruses that they're trying to send out. So there are meetings that were supposed to take place this coming week that were, those orders were supposed to come down. Money was supposed to come down. In fact, by Wednesday, so this is coming out on Monday, by Wednesday, the people, the governments and people at the lower level were supposed to be getting paid. And of course, that's on a new moon because that's how these devil worshipers operate. Okay. So Kim is going to explain a lot of what I just said and who was expecting to get what and why and the whole order process. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the global reset and then basically wanting all markets to crash. There's a lot of good stuff. And at the end, we've got more positive stuff. But we definitely want to keep you apprised of what the governments are doing. We're not reporting like in the main section of the news. We're not reporting so much on the governments. We don't really care about what their news headlines are and what sound bites they have and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the World Situation Report, you still need to know what they're planning to do. Now, their plans keep failing, and they will continue to fail. And as we said last week, they are not only out of money, but we've decided that we are not working with governments anymore. The last straw. And so they will crash. They will crash within probably the next 6 months. But we're still going to update you on some of the things that they're doing and then start to transition more and more into talking about restoration because that's where we're going. That's where the planet's going. And hopefully that's where you want to go too. So without further ado, here is today's World Situation Report.
Let's start with the meetings.
Yes.
So we've talked about this before. Originally, they had postponed them indefinitely. And now I'm guessing they're still thinking something is going to happen. So it's important that I kind of explain this, just a little bit background. We've talked about this last year where the meetings go in succession. So it's the others meetings, so to speak. Then it goes from the others meetings to the coven meetings, in which they were running around this year thinking, well, we don't have covens, but we're still here, so we can try to, take that spot. And now we're back to the Order of the Dragon and Black Sun family meetings that are due to take place on Wednesday,
Okay.
which is also the new moon. So they've been doing a lot of things in preparation for this, including going along with old orders, such as the restart of another pandemic scheduled for the 13th. Wow, also happens to be the same day that the family meeting is supposed to start. They've been working very, very hard to steal your money. This is the reason why you saw glitches and problems with Zelle, PayPal, Cash App, all of the automated closed loop payment systems that you would use. You can insert name here if I miss some. Over the Thursday to Friday, they had tried to set up a trade against that money. High yield trade. They must have forgotten. They cannot trade that money because they don't have any new allocations of new money in order to do what is referred to in the industry as a bullet trade. Therefore, everything kind of started working over the next day or two. By the weekend, everything was back functioning. And all they did was cause some glitches and some problems for you, the consumer. They have also tried to take all of the money out of all of the banks and facilitate a financial crash, which was also unsuccessful. They have orchestrated many, many different things. And the problem with this is that it does have some effect on you, the people. We try to catch things as fast as we can find them, but there's always some bright idea somewhere with somebody or another. The next problem I have with this is they convince operatives, agency people, and even some alternative media people that they are the good guys. They are the white hats. They're working for your freedom. And to some degree, the agents that are running around giving this information are actually believing that they are the good guys. Therefore, they do a lot of things to prove that they are the good guys, I guess, or they act as if they are doing the right thing. So one of the case in point, a known person that works for Treasury in China traveled all the way to New York. We actually had hundreds of Treasury personnel from all Treasury departments in all countries. So there is a Treasury, which is a Treasury of USA, Treasury of China, Treasury of Russia, even though publicly it says they only have a central bank. Trust me when I tell you there's a Treasury in every country. They all gathered in New York. The one from China in particular claimed the following. Number one, don't believe the news. China is fighting their deep state. They're fighting against their deep state. They're not complying with their deep state orders. They are going their own way, and they came to the United States to tell the UN, the UN Security Council, the US, and the Federal Reserve that they are departing from the Federal Reserve System.
Wow. I mean, that sounds big.
It sounds like a positive thing.
It does.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'd all like to depart from the Federal Reserve System, but the part that he was unaware of is that they now all had moved to the Treasury's department globally because the Jesuit order, the good guys, there's always a savior and a boogeyman. Boogeyman is the Fed, savior is the Treasuries, which are not government organizations by any means. The Treasuries would now be taking over the world's economy. So we talked last time about the fake 21 trillion. There are also rumors going on out there that the 33 trillion, which is what you see in the media of debt to the Fed has been paid. The debt owed from the Treasury to the Fed has been paid. No money has exchanged hands. All they did figure out was that what I said on the news was true. There's no more debt. So now they had made all these promises. They flew in all these Treasury agents from all over the world and had a big meeting at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. Now, the one thing they forgot is, number one, there is no more global treasury system. It doesn't exist. They're kind of autonomous. They're still somewhat running, with what little cash they can collect from your taxes and whatnot in countries. But there's not enough money there to fund a country, to control a country, anywhere. Number two, they ended up basically telling them, I know you're going to be surprised here. Just wait. We'll have it all sorted for you by Monday, Tuesday. Just hang out here and just wait. Everybody always has to wait. They're like the association or the union of waiters, these people. Everybody waits. The U.S. government waits. All the people wait. All the operatives wait. Everybody waits. Just wait and wait and wait. And then when you're done waiting, you will wait some more.
Was this always the case though, Kim? Like even when they had money, is it a form of control to keep people waiting? Is that what they do? Or did this not happen before they weren't given it?
Under the old structure that used to exist, and I would say this type of a structure hasn't existed for at least 16 to 17 years. Okay. It's been that long.
Yeah.
So you would have a whole downline of controlling systems. Orders would come out at the highest level from the others meeting, which they would obviously have with others. And, and then the agenda was set. Parents would be read in during that meeting. The parents would then give respective orders to the covens. The covens would then give respective orders to the various, like, for example, eventually the Order of the Dragon and all their families, and the Order of the Black Sun and all their families, depending on which person was your coven head, so to speak, which sector you fell under. Now, underneath that structure, you would have had people like the Jesuit order, who would have been more in the Black Sun financial sector, coven section. You would have had, Opus Dei in there. You would have had the Templars in there. You would have had, and their respective generals, because they do give titles of general. So sometimes when I say unseen generals, I'm referring to people that have obtained an honorary title of general in a secret society. Because the Black Sun is a very militant type structured order. This is where your Orion group would fall in, another society, if you've never heard of them, and various other secret societies and those generals. Now, these guys would then run the operatives. So you would have also included probably in the general section, you would have your SSP, your 15 militaries, your umbrella, and so on and so forth, military corporations. They also have a downline structure for their operatives. And then each different society or each different group of generals claims operatives as their own. In other words, I own you now. You are my tool. You are my property. So contracts would start filtering down, starting in about a month or two ago, give or take. And then on the harvest moon, that's when the lower end operatives, the owned ones, the tools, would then start receiving their contracts after the family meeting. So this is a long road traveled, for orders and money and orders and money, and then everybody takes their cut. Yeah. Well, in the world of operatives, you have what I refer to as pimps.
Okay.
So they claim operatives, or, and I'm not relating, and this means, no disrespect to these people, because there's a lot of brilliant people that work in that sector. They've just given wrong information, and they actually get the contract themselves. They take the money, they agree to fulfill said contract. Then they pass down very little money to the operative and they take their cut. It's kind of just like a pimp does. I hate to say it. And then these guys go out risking their life for what is probably, maybe 10% tops of the ultimate contract price once you go down the whole cycle. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Wow.
So that's the old structure. And then in order to control them, they would allocate money to them in an off ledger, off market account, for example, in the Black Eagle Trust. And then that money would go, and then they'd get like either a savings book or a white card and a pager was another way they would do it, or they would just give you a statement, so to speak, showing this money was in your name. But then you would have to ask for permission to even use your own money. You have to tell them what you're using it for, why you're getting this money. So in those days, they would pay you, millions of dollars, but it really wasn't your money anyway. And then come to find out, when a lot of these guys were comparing notes, because some lady told them some information, gave them some insight on this, that they all had the same account number. Isn't that weird?
Oh, wow.
But that was way back prior to March of 2007.
Okay.
The same thing would also happen in the political sector. Because remember, everybody had a job. All the parents had specific sectors that they were controlling. And so orders would come down through the political sector, and you would get to the operatives that worked in the political sector who would also get contracts and get paid. And there would be money that would go into politicians and lobbyists and all of these varying groups to make sure that the corporate sector was also fed. What are all these corporations, BlackRock, Vanguard, you name it, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Pfizer, Moderna, the list goes on and on. The political sector and the corporate sector work together very well. And at the end of the day, you got operatives across the board. Mm-hmm. They're all what you would consider operatives. When you think operatives, sometimes you say, oh, that's James Bond. You watch the movies and there's Jason Bourne and there's all these guys. And yes, there are people that do those jobs too, or have done those jobs. But there are also people that run politicians. They run security, they run various governments, they run political parties, they run things in accordance with the orders that come down from the top and take their small little tiny piece. Problem is that small little tiny piece really hadn't come for years until, I would say, 2018. By about 2018, as when I started communicating with the Trump administration on the White House terminals, and I started funding budgets, and then they started getting contracts again. So they were happy. They were happy to get their little piece down here. And when I stopped funding governments, a while back, 2019, I think, was the last time I did anything. And that was the last time they actually got any contracts. That's why Trump became the hero amongst all the operatives, because they think he did it. He didn't do anything. He just sat there, listened to me tell why we need to fix things for hurricanes and all kinds of stuff, and student loan payoffs and all the other things I wanted to get done. And he just ignored everything I had to say, took the money, ran with it, and paid operatives, and continued to commit things like COVID-19, which, wow, was paid for in 2018. Mm-hmm. Wow, what a coincidence that was. So this kind of is relative, and I'm glad you asked the question, because it's very relative to why do they keep believing? Why is the deep state running around trying to fulfill all of these things? Because if you lose control of the operatives, you have zero political control, zero media control. We all know CNN, we can call it CIANN, right? Mm-hmm. That is across the board at the top. Reuters, where you're getting all your Bloomberg information from. Everything comes from those people that work the system. Just depends on which sector of the system they're well trained in. Do they create the narratives? Who are they? And so they have been barking out orders continuously. The Jesuits have, so have the Chinese deep state, so has, you can clearly see their people were here this weekend looking for money too. Um, and thinking that the Treasury, or AKA the Jesuit order, is going to get it done. You know, I wish there was a magic word or even a pill you could give to these people and just to explain to them. I mean, I literally think I could have a gaggle of aliens fall from the sky in their big spaceships or whatever, starships, and say, no one's going to help you anymore. You're out, guys. And they'd still do it. They wouldn't believe anybody.
Yeah.
They built a ridiculous thing in their head that they're superior somehow to the rest of us cattle, which is assuredly not true. Okay, so they're back at it this weekend. They'll be back at it today. They're still filing new agreements. I've probably turned down well over 100, 110 agreements as of this morning that they have submitted through old communication lines, trying to get themselves financial management. And they seem to be very hot and heavy on management of political sectors and White Houses or various other colors in other countries. And it's still me, I mean, I put my name on there, and I sign it and say rejected, rejected, but doesn't stop them from going to various old communication lines and thinking they're still going to be reaching someone else. So I'm expecting them to try them all over the next couple of days as they're expecting orders and they're expecting money. And I even thought to myself, I could take that communication line and I could give them orders and I could actually also fund for said orders. But you know what? Given my experience with the orders, plural, they're never going to do what I say anyway. So forget it, and then I just gave up. Yeah. Made sure every new line that comes up, I just sever all connections, all diplomatic channels, everything that comes up when they're still following those orders and instructions. So that's been pretty much the weekend, other than there has been a number of other events that actually were kind of serious that have taken place. On Friday, they're looking to crash the market. I mean, that's their plan. They would like this grandiose global reset, which involves many factors. So on Friday morning, a program started running, which was not a human program. It was not a 15 military program. It was not any of those things. It was a remnant left over from the lower astral that they had placed there in the event we were to transition to the new age. Okay. The program's was called the End Times Programming. It included things like parasites for the new pandemic, to happen. So if you know anybody that actually did get a little sick this weekend, that's probably the reason why. They're probably starting to feel better as of today, I hope. And it included things like, and these are all time release things. So it's not like, you can do a scan of Earth because they sit like in the causal plane. They don't actually even come onto the radar until it's time for them to come on. So they were also the cause of the Morocco earthquake that happened and the smaller one in Iraq. There were other plans as well with some things in the sun and the moon and, tsunamis and hurricanes and more of the same. We found the one in Singapore on Friday, but we didn't find the rest of them until yesterday. So we've been cleaning them up, both myself, the enforcer, and all hands on deck, trying to get rid of it all because it was quite a bit that had been implanted everywhere. So the End Times program has now ended.
Officially.
Yes.
Do we know that there aren't any more remnants out there or programs that, because this has happened a few times?
Yeah. Yeah, we have swept as much as we could sweep, collectively as a group. Uh, none of us are God, but we try. We try to clean, not try to be God, but we try to clean as best as we can. Uh, but this was not, this is kind of, goes back to my story about the unicorn stick and the earthquake. So they're intending on starting a new pandemic on the 13th, according to memorandums being circulated by the World Health Organization. That's when it's really going to get started. They started ramping up in the media with politicians coming out and saying they have COVID. You've got Whoopi Goldberg on The View again with her mask, talking on Zoom to the View people. You've got all, it's all starting again, just like we saw it before. But the end times programming is gone. Now, this is why they think they have a unicorn stick. So maybe some of their old orders said by September of 2023, we're going to do it again.
Yeah.
So they think that it's just an automated process that they slam the stick into the ground, and COVID comes out,
right.
Or something. Another strain, another variant. But it's not them actually doing it. It was actually being done by a third-party entity. So although it had some degree of an effect, it wasn't as even close to what it could have done. But again, you still need someone, be it an other or otherwise, to fully engage and push the buttons and make sure everything goes off without a hitch. But there's nobody home to do that anymore because nobody wants that done. Does it cause a little bit of a cleanup? Yes. Does it cause, some reactions in people that have had Epstein-Barr or mononucleosis before? Yes. Does it, cause radiation? Sometimes, yes. So what happens when you realize this did not kick off? I'll tell you what happens next. You start this morning with Starlink satellites and you start sending out frequencies through cell phones. That's what you do because that's going to work. And we can literally microwave people through their cell phones.
That's what they were trying to do?
Yes. This morning. Mm-hmm. So because their bosses, so to speak, their former bosses that are now no longer with us, failed to perform this function, they've been trying various haphazard ways of poisoning us all. Now, the orders that went to Elon Musk in his Starlink program, satellites, in order to do this actually came from Rothschild. And he complied with said orders. I know.
I mean, he's not the good guy, Kim. Elon isn't saving us.
I know, but you know what? Funny enough, isn't it? There's all this political talk about Elon's bad and all this stuff because he turned off the Starlink satellites in the Ukraine just a few days ago. Isn't it funny? Just a few days before launching his Kill the World program, Kill the Humans, the Kill the Cattle program, that they just miraculously went off in the Ukraine. I mean, is there some kind of deal over there? What's that deal?
I don't know. Yeah.
I know. Makes you kind of wonder if anybody else lost their supposed Starlink satellite program, over the last several days. Why were they told ahead of time that this was going to happen? Don't fry the Ukrainian program. Makes you wonder. But they have tried several different times to see if they could locate any kind of social crediting systems, social operating, social programming, socialist programming in cell phones, those types of things. But those things don't exist anymore. Old access codes, key codes, all the same things to programs that were designed by somebody else who gave them said access codes, and the programs never came to fruition, like they thought they would over the weekend because, hey, it's order time. We're expecting to, they gave them orders before that the second pandemic should be starting in September of this year, right about the time the family meeting starts, and there would be money for this and all this stuff. Why, why are we not getting what we're, supposed to be getting here? We already started it, for you.
Yeah.
But those people are dead. I don't know how to explain that to these people. I mean, maybe it would be worth trying to get some aliens to come from the sky. Perhaps there's, Satan incarnate or Lucifer incarnate or something we could make up and just draw diagrams on the clouds or something. I'm not sure what you can do to tell these people that the stuff that you think happened before is not happening anymore. So long story short, why are the operatives still there? Why do they still believe them?
Yeah.
Because they're owned like cattle, worse than us.
Are they scared, Kim? I mean, are they being threatened at this point?
They're, to varying degrees, yes. Some are being threatened to not leave the toolbox of said pimp. And I hate to be rude because I hate this type of behavior. You think our life is bad, at living life as a cattle. And it is, they were poisoned, the stuff they put in our food, air, water. I know what they do to our children. I know about the traffic. I know about all the stuff that happens. Trust me. I do. And we do our best to mitigate situations whenever possible. But I am also one human here. I'm just a single human, and I have a big system I built, and I built it for that purpose. But also there are millions, if not hundreds of millions of little red dots that show up on a map on any given day at any given time, and there's only so much you can actually do in by yourself. And then there's that whole sleep thing I like to do once in a while. When I have the ability to do so. It didn't last long. It lasted 2 days last week, and I was happy about that. But, we are doing the best we can. Now, the 10 Days of Darkness story, you all have heard a million times.
That's a white hat story.
It's not. It's going to be 8 to 14 days of light. That transition began fully. We fully exited, I should say, it's not a transition anymore. We fully exited the ages on Friday. We are fully out now. We have about a week to 2 weeks of light coming in, which helps clear out things like dark matter, old computer system remnants, old orders, old agreements, old sub-agreements, these types of things. And it's a work in process, and we're doing everything we can to speed up the cleaning process on our end. And when I say it's beginning, that means it began on Friday. That means it starts from the 9th density and moves its way all the way down to the 5th density, which is mostly clean. And then it's going to make its way down to the 3rd density, which is mostly not. Between, we've had a harder time from the 5th density on down. So it's coming. It is working, but it's just moving its way through mud, so to speak, energetic mud, clearing out. But we're not miles away from it happening now. We are entering into this other age. There's no going back. The quantum flips have already taken place, and it's over. These people, I don't know what they're doing.
So if we're not in those ages anymore, where are we, or where are we at? Because we used to be able to classify where we were through being in those ages. So I know crystalline time, but is there going to be something to describe where we're at now historically?
The way that the universe creates matter has forever changed. That was an agreement. That's a covenant. That's something that came from the creator. It started back in January, calling the ball type thing. We are actually now just cleaning out remnants of E = MC² still. It takes time. It's a long time that this has been happening. How do you describe it? It's not an age anymore. It's just a universal transition to an entire universe of light.
Wow.
I mean, we can add a label to it if you want, but there's no other thing. So, like when you say we're now moving into 20, towards the end of 2023 into 2024, you could say we've begun the transition to 2024 because there's something else you're going to, and then the next year you're going to go to something else. But there is no something else from this. It is this way forevermore. So how do you describe it? Like,
I know our brains don't really work that way. Our human brains.
Humans in general like labels. We love to label everything, and the media actually has taught us to label everything. Skinny, fat, there's social media bullying all over the place. There's colors of skin, you name it. Rich, poor, you don't have an iPhone and you're under the age of 18, you're not a human. You are a substandard person if you didn't wear Air Jordans, back in the day, or whatever the coolest shoe is. It's an American thing, but it's a worldwide thing. Let's be fair. So we tend to do this a lot.
Yeah. Well, especially regarding time, because we have been caught up in this time matrix for so long. That,
yes.
The idea that there's what happens after that, and something's going to happen after that. So it's just going to take some time, I think, for us to figure that out mentally.
Well, and we also have to realize that, and this goes into the last thing I really feel that I need to discuss with you, all of you, because let's go back to Facebook. Okay. Facebook is an SSP program, meaning it was created by the 15 militaries, passed through DARPA, and then you got the redheaded, selected, what I call cannon fodder guy. He's the guy that allegedly created it that didn't actually create anything. There's a whole movie about the creation of Facebook, Napster, and all these programs. And okay, so we know how that was created. Now, TikTok is a Chinese program. It is run by Chinese agency people. If you put anything on TikTok that mentions China in a bad way or doesn't continue with their global propaganda game, you will be deleted. It will be deleted. Your videos will go away. We have seen that with UNN. So that is who runs TikTok. That's why all these government people say, oh, you don't put TikTok on a government device. Okay. It doesn't matter. You already got chips in your phone from China. You get all kinds of stuff from China. You can avoid TikTok if you like, but that ain't going to help you any. Okay. In your head or wherever, that's just who you are. So just accept it.
Yeah.
Now, but I'm talking about you guys. I'm talking about all of you. Twitter, obviously, Elon Musk, the same guy that tried to fry us all this morning per the orders of Rothschild, is the owner of Twitter now. So that's a pretty safe place to be. Yeah, X. Oh, that's right. It's called X now. X. Whatever. No more little bird. It's an X. Yeah, for extermination. That's great.
Right.
So, you've got Snapchat. You've got all of these programs out there. These were actually pilot programs to transition into your social crediting program. Y'all post what you ate. You post that you went to this on TikTok. You're dancing at your friend's house. You're doing all of this stuff. It's all about the social crediting program. Could they actually proliferate that program utilizing social media? Period. End of story. They also run test programs just like they do on YouTube, just like they do on Rumble. Don't think Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, you name it. The algorithms are there everywhere. Maybe they don't block you just to see what you'll say and what you'll do. But the algorithms are in all the programs. So when they want to implement a new program, now by program, what I mean is the Maui program, the fire program, the fear program, you will start to see social media influencers, average member, the glittering headlines, and the average everyday folk I met Johnny when he was 5 and he's a great guy. All your social media influencers have been paid for. That's what they work towards. That's why they want the million followers and all of that. Because when you get a certain amount of followers, you now become an average everyday folk for the order. That's what you become. So you now become a useful tool. You're now hired as a tool, no different than an operative. You are now an operative for some pimp somewhere down in the downline. You are now an operative. I understand the money is good. I understand you endorse these shoes and that mascara and all that stuff, and that's fine. But when it comes to 2,000 children have gone missing, I'm a social media influencer. I just happen to be on vacation in Maui right now when all this happened. Wow, that's a shocker right there. Who paid for that vacation?
Yeah.
They are all running your social program, just to a lesser degree than the fear they're putting out there, about ID 2020, which it's now 2023, and they still don't have it. And I'm cautioning you when you listen to this stuff. Now, some of you have connections with what some people call their higher self or source or your soul, a soul connection, however you describe it for yourself, guides or otherwise. And you're saying to yourself, this doesn't feel right. And some of you don't. Some of you forward and pass on and post on your own social media pages the same information that is being thrown out there to scare you. So let's talk about how to avoid this problem. Okay, take an incident. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to start with my favorite saying, and I've repeated it to you guys a lot, but there's a reason for it, okay? Small minds talk about people. I don't like Billy Joe, the guy that talks about Trump all the time. I don't like this person. This person's evil. Why are they evil? I don't know why they're evil. I just want to say that. And then you spread this stuff about people. It's not just alt media. It's everywhere. It's about your cousin. It's about your that guy that always shows up to family parties drunk. It doesn't matter what it is. You're still promoting. You're talking about other people like you even know them. You go on social media and you see these, like the Kardashians, Etal, and all these other influencers. They've made billions of dollars being an influencer and no one even knows why. But yet you still can't help yourself and you start posting on their Twitter or Instagram or whatever page you're looking at, well, she looks fat in that dress, or, oh, so-and-so gained weight, or stop, just stop. Stop, just take the drama out of your life. You got to go to the family party and Uncle Joe or whoever it is the one that always shows up drunk. Okay, fine. But you know it. Talking about it isn't going to stop it. Trying to convince him otherwise, this isn't the best thing to do, Uncle Joe, isn't going to stop it. People are who they are. That's it. You are not the judge and jury of human beings. So stop. In general. Refrain from sending Kim text messages on how best to do her job and 10,000 YouTube videos. I don't watch them. I don't have time to watch them. And when I do have time to watch them, that means I'm probably trying to grab a shower, do some laundry, maybe get some sleep or something. Or, I barely have time to do day-to-day activities. I will not watch your YouTube videos. Do not send them. Do not get on general chat and say, why is all of these bad things happening, without analyzing them. And if you're on general chat on Telegram, then you know what I'm talking about. If you are going to send, okay, so this still goes to talking about people. Okay, if you are going to send out or forward something that talks about, the social crediting system, before you hit that button, here's what you need to do. Number one, analyze what the features would be of the social crediting system as dispersed by the fear porn social media. What is it? Okay, it's going to analyze your spending habits. It's going to analyze your health. It's going to analyze your jobs. It's going to, and if you don't comply with the program, what all the factors are, you don't vote for the right politician, whatever, it takes away all your ability to bank and they can destroy your health. So think about the data processing power that it takes to do that. Okay. I want you to now research. So before you push your agenda, because now it's becoming your agenda. Okay. You're dispersing this information to everyone. Number one, please look at computing power. Look at the big quantum computing systems that they tell you all about, because that's all they've got left. They don't have any more alien tech left to make this happen. Now, that also was not created by them. The whole program wasn't created by them. They're just, 9 layers down in the food chain, complying with an order that came out in 1985. Okay, this is what we're doing for the next 20, 30 years, whatever it is. So look at the computing power that they have available. Is this possible? Look how many transactions per second blockchain before you start sending on emails about central bank digital currency again. The central bank digital currency isn't even for you. Further down the road, digital currency, digital IDs, vaccine passports, and all of this stuff. I want you to look at the computing power that it takes to actually, now it can't be blockchain either. Blockchain wouldn't work anyway, but it cannot be because it is not a centralized system. Now, these people are for control, right? You're worried about them controlling you in a one world government. That means you have to have a one world system.
Right.
So pay attention to everything you're doing. Do your research. Find out what's out there. Are these things possible before you push your fear on someone else? Now, this gets me to people that talk about events. Average minds talk about events. How many people watching this right now have forwarded a do video, and who did the do? Who do the do in Hawaii? Does it matter to you in your life? It could, and I'll explain that in a second. Events. Biden fell down. Mitch McConnell froze. There's a earthquake in Morocco. There's this happening. There's that happening. And discussing how it happened and which deep state member is responsible for it. I hate those people. Let's forward the fear porn. 2,000 children go missing. This happened. That happened. Why is Kim not doing anything about it? Wow, she is awful. Goes back to even the smaller minds, right? You can go from being an average mind to being a small mind real quick. Like I'm told you 100 times, I'm not your saver. Why aren't you saving those kids? If they're missing, why don't you get on a plane, do a GoFundMe page, fly over there, have people fund to fly over there and save the kids yourself. I'm doing all this with no money. Why don't you do it with no money? I don't get paid until you get paid. I'm not sitting here in $1 million mansion. I can promise you that, with a Ferrari in my garage. Not like I'd ever buy Italian engineering anyway, but well, but you know what I'm trying to say, that I'm not doing that. Okay. So now let's talk about, there's bad things that happen all over the world every single day. And you want to wake up every day and be a good human. But if you spend 5 hours a day talking about who did the do, who do the do in Maui, or who shot this, or who did that, or who started what earthquake, you're not going to unearthquake it. Okay, no point in discussing it. It's over. The earth has quaked. That's it. The fires have fired. You can't undo it. So please figure out what you want to do with your day. And please think about what I'm telling you before you forward fear porn. And you have every human in the world in fear. Now you have a collective consciousness of fear, which will actually manifest an event. So don't help them. Please do not help them. The ID 2020 has been out for 10 years in the fear porn section. It is part of the social media program. How many people will buy it? Just like the earth is flat. How many people could we convince worldwide that the earth is flat? Something so crazy and so asinine. We are now convincing the entire world that it's flat. Ha, 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 ha. Now we can convince these people of anything because it's on social media. Now, let's talk about great minds and why I like this quote so much. A great mind would look at the event in Maui and they would say, I can do something about this. I can go to my local schools and I can ask if they're willing to donate old clothes, shoes, canned goods, whatever it is. I can collect money even if I don't have any, and I can put everything in a box and I can get shipping costs and find a food bank over there, and I can donate all of this stuff where people can come get it for free, that type of thing. What can I do to help these people? If my house burnt down and I had to relocate to another part of the island, what could I do? Instead of spending 5 hours on TikTok watching who do the do and who went missing. Have an idea, have a thought, and execute on that plan, because everything is possible. And there are those in this world who do, and those in this world that spend their days saying why they cannot. So before you post why you cannot do something on the internet, on general chat, or elsewhere, stop yourself. Because whether you say you can or you say you can't, you're right. You will be right 100% of the time. Could you have done this? You could have. Instead of posting children go missing and blah, 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 without even researching where they went. They went to the other side of the island. Maybe some went to the mainland. There's not that many that are not recorded as re-enrolling in a school district somewhere on the island. If you go and look at the numbers, you'll see that. Come on, people. Discern. And I'm not even asking you to have skills that you don't have. You have an internet, because if you're watching this, you do. You have a phone that has data. You have something that gets you there from here to actually do some base level research yourself. Mm-hmm. TikTok influencers are going to be the first videos that pop up in your feed when you type in Maui fire. Yep. The ones with 1 million views, most popular ones or whatever. Of course, they're the most popular ones. They're always going to be the most popular ones. Why? Because you have the Chinese Secret Service putting those numbers in there for you, just like they do with all their YouTubers that are the popular CIA agents that tell you where they're going and what they're doing and what's really real and what's happening. Distraction, look here. Yep. Just like they do in Rumble. All their favorite MI6 people and their DARPA people and their umbrella military corporation people and their influencers, they all get thousands and thousands or millions and millions of views because it only takes one stroke of a keyboard and now you have 1 million views on your video on Rumble. Mm-hmm. And they created all these programs. Therefore, they have what's called a software backdoor. So they can access anyone's YouTube page. They can pull your videos off. I'm sure you all understand that. You strike this and strike that. But not only can they do that, they can also ramp up their own. So they show up first in the feed. They can manipulate. It's not just an algorithm. There's actual humans saying, oh, look, Bob is promoting the fear porn agenda of the DO weapon. Mm-hmm. And we want everybody to talk about a DO weapon right now. Because we need to be scary people. We need to let them know that the government is scary. It's omnipotent. And they need to be scared that we're not going to torch their neighborhood. So you need to get as many people talking about DOs and how they work as possible. Look at all the social media people and all the TikTokers and all these people that are putting out DO videos now for you. Mm-hmm.
There's also all those videos for the blue roofs. Have you heard that?
Oh, yes, blue roofs.
Blue roofs everywhere. And somehow the DO misses anything that has a blue roof. So that's what they say.
No. Do they actually have a blue roof? And why does it matter? Are you going to paint your roof blue? Is that your plan? Do you think that'll make you and your town, now we're going to have Smurfville all over the United States for crying out loud, where everybody's got a blue house and a blue roof because the social media told you to. You're also walking around with crazy shoes and weirdo hair devices and all kinds of crazy stuff you saw on social media. You are, admit it. You saw on TikTok, this is the best mascara ever, and you've now bought 15 tubes of one kind of mascara or another because that's the longest lashes I've ever seen in my life. And do that actually work? No, it doesn't actually work. But that's just a small portion of it. Like that's kind of semi, yes, it's harmful to your pocketbook, but it's the consumerism program, get them to buy more of the next greatest thing. And the next greatest thing doesn't last very long, on TikTok or whatever you're watching. But even worse than that, you need to look at it from a political sector. You need to look at it from a natural disaster or an unnatural disaster sector. And you need to actually think, I am a great mind. You need to repeat it to yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror, do whatever you got to do. I have a great mind. What ideas can I think of regarding these events? And then put them to work. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like this is stuff I talk to my kids about a lot because especially when you were talking about the latest and greatest stuff on the internet and whatever, and they come to me all the time with like, oh, we need this or we need to do that. I'm like, think about this, I
Yep.
mean, you don't need that. It's not going to do what it says it's going to do. Think for yourself. Do you really need that? No. Would your money, because it is their money, would your money be better spent doing other things, helping people? I have this conversation all the time, so that's what it reminds me of right now.
No, but it's totally true.
Yeah.
You have X amount of money per month. I'm not even saying, maybe you need more money. Maybe everybody needs more money. Maybe there's a restoration plan ahead. Maybe we're doing everything we can to restore everything without a dime.
Yeah.
And without another human over here. So we're doing everything we can on our side of it. We really are. And I'm telling you all of this stuff now because it is important. The more they lose, the more baloney you're going to see in social media everywhere. I'm not saying that these events aren't real, that they are not doing these things, but I don't, I look it up in the system. I check it out. I look at what's underground. I look at what's above. I look who's there, and I figure it out. I make an assessment and then I have an action that I take. Those people no longer breathe. Okay, great. That doesn't mean there's not a million other ones of them or 500 million of them or whatever there is left in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean another one isn't going to take their place and light a fire someplace else. Doesn't mean we didn't miss a machine somewhere, that they're going to transport to that particular location and try to do something else to another location just like it. Again, there's only so much you can do. So when I tell you about this stuff, I'm telling you about it so in hopes that you actually understand what is possible in the world, how the world has run for millions and billions of years, long before humans ever showed up here. So just please understand, there are things you can do too, to prepare yourself for what happens when a transition of power happens. They're going to grasp everything they can do, from your consciousness to your time watching videos and doing all the things that we do right now. Mm-hmm. And they're going to say to you, okay, great. I can still push an agenda through all these people. I can still create fear. Let's burn down this and then we'll create fear everywhere saying Satan did it. The hell on earth has arrived. It's the end times, blah, 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 blah. Don't let them do that to your head. Don't let them waste your time. I mean, you can take that 15 minutes in the morning that you spend, drinking your coffee and watching TikToks and YouTube videos and all of that. And you can go outside and grounding, kiss your kids, call your grandkids, say, hope you have a great day at school. Do something, anything. Connect with other humans. Yes, it's good to know what's going on in the world. It's good to understand when events happen, so we don't panic. And so other people don't panic, and I've hopefully said enough over the last couple of years to let you know that that's happening. And it's happening. It's now happening. They're even in mainstream, they're talking about government shutdowns. I'm telling you, it's happening. So discernment is going to be extremely important. Mm-hmm. And whatever you do, you can have your own fear. If you want to be in fear and you want to live there, you live there. Okay. But before you push that button and hit forward to all your followers or to somebody else's followers, I want you to think. Use discernment. Calculate what make this possible. Do a flow chart. Remember the idea flow charts they made us all do in school and college and whatever? Start at the top. Okay, here is the evil agenda today, whatever it is. Now, if you were going to be Dr. Evil and you wanted to create this agenda, what would you require that you do? I would also like you to do the same thing with positive things that are happening in the world.
Yeah.
I would also like you to do the same things with news that comes out, even if it comes out of my mouth. I would like you to calculate when I say something is not going to happen because I don't believe it's possible. I would like you to write down why you think it's possible. Before you get on general chat or some other chat, or even some other alt media person, that says this is happening or that's not happening. Just do a flow chart. Is that possible? What would I need to do to make that possible? How much money does it cost, in the dirty world of politics? How much money does it cost in the dirty world of bankers? How much money do these people get paid? That's all public information, how much they get paid. And that's just on what you see on the face front. How much do you think it would cost you to pay all these people off? How much do operatives cost? But you don't get to talk to those people directly. You have to talk to the other people who then send it to the other people and then send it to the other people. Just think. Think for yourself, discern for yourself before you put the whole world or even a network of 10,000 people in fear.
Yeah, and Kim, I think the other important thing to bring out here is that it's not just sending stuff through social media or email, but just your presence. If you have all that negativity and fear within you because you are obsessed with reading all this negative stuff, that will spread to other people around you. And you won't be able to stop it. There's, I don't know how many feet out it is, but your frequency goes out. And someone could be having the best day in the world and suddenly, you're all freaked out about something. You will impact them. So it's not just social media. It is affecting people in so many other ways. This is not just about you anymore. We can't have that me mindset. That doesn't fly.
Well, it's true. And we all have somewhat good days and days where it just seems like everything goes wrong. The toaster doesn't work. The kids, you got to pick them up from school, whatever it is. There's just those days where it just seems like I think I'm going to go back to bed and do a do-over. Everything's breaking, whatever it is. And, and that's fine. But you got to take a deep breath and think in the grand scheme of the world and all of the things that are happening right now, is it a tragedy? Do I need to spend negative energy that my toaster broke or my coffee maker's not working or whatever it is you consider to be a tragedy? Just think for a second at all of the tragedies that happen in the world. And then think about all the things you're grateful for. You most likely are having this conversation with yourself in a house that didn't burn down recently. Most likely. You are not having this conversation from the middle of the jungle in Africa, Liberia, and you haven't eaten for 2 days. You're probably not having that conversation. The worst thing in the world to, maybe you can throw that toast in the oven and be a little resourceful. Great ideas, become a great ideas person. I'll throw it in the oven. Even though my toaster's broken, I can just throw it in there and solve my problem and not even have a negative thought.
Yeah, I always tell my kids, if you have a bad day, it's because you chose to have a bad day, because negative things are going to happen. But it's how you react to those things that's going to impact the rest of your day. So if you get to the end of your day and you're moping all around, then it's because you chose to have a negative reaction overall to something, which caused something else negative to happen. And, it's just it's a snowball effect, right?
Well, absolutely. And it's just the same way with other people in your life. Like I said, Uncle Joe at the Christmas parties every year or whatever. Okay, those people exist, but how you react to those people? You can look at them with disgust. Okay, that's fine. But that's also a negative thing. That's a negative emotion. You're giving them that. Instead of just going, that was funny. Or just pay it no mind, or just say, oh, it's great to see you again, Uncle Joe, or whatever it is. I mean, you don't have to react negatively to a person that doesn't live their life the way that you do. You don't have to. And just because someone wants to give you their negative energy, you don't have to take it. And your reaction when you see posts online, like I said, discern before you share negative with everybody else. You know, and if you don't want to do that and you still want to forward negative to everybody else and you're the negative receiver person, then you do the discernment. Is being in fear never created anything. And it certainly never stopped anything from happening.
Yeah.
Great ideas do. Great minds do. They're the ones that stop things from happening or start things happening, because they don't look at a tragic news story or someone that got hit by a car or whatever it is as, yes, the event has already taken place. I can't stop the drunk driver from hitting that girl, in the news. I can't do that. But what can I do? Can I create a rides program that's available at the time people, kids are coming out of parties? A no questions asked mom circle of people that do nothing but pick up teenagers from parties from, 10 p.m. to 3 o'clock in the morning. And if I had done that, could I save that girl's life? Yeah. You can do that type of stuff. Okay, so it might cost some gas money. And if you don't have gas money, let's everybody chip in, all the moms chip in, and let's make sure everybody that's willing to do it has gas in the car or petrol, or depending on where you are. So you can't prevent the tragic event, but you can come up with a great idea with your great mind on how to prevent it from happening in the future. You are not going to call Lockheed Martin and tell them to stop producing weapon aircraft. You're not. I mean, you can petition against it. You're wasting your time. They make billions of dollars for every one of those aircraft they produce. Well, they used to when the cabal had money to buy them in governments. But hey,
Yeah.
So I've debated on one particular thing, because there's always a question of why does Kim not do this, and why does Kim not do that, and why don't we have money yet, and we don't have. And there's an old joke. So I wanted to end today's world situation report with a joke.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to PG it for all of you. and I'm going to read it out to you, because I'm not very good at remembering jokes. I'm one of those people. I don't have brain space for that. Okay. So here goes the joke. For all those of you that wonder what Kim does and why the deep state is still out there, and I hear that every day. It's on every chat, literally under the news. Okay. So listen carefully and pay attention. Okay. All of the organs of the body were having a meeting. Have you heard this one, Sunny?
I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They're trying to decide who was the one in charge and who was going to be in charge. Sound familiar? What has the deep state been doing lately? They have been running around determining, now you're in charge, now the NSA is in charge, now the Chinese are in charge, now the Rothschilds are in charge, and they're rotating who's in charge. Okay. I should be in charge, said the brain, because I run all the body's systems. So without me, nothing would happen. Now you can insert the Jesuit name here, or the Order of the Dragon, or some Templars, or a politician, wherever you want. Okay, next, I should be in charge, said the blood, because I circulate oxygen all over. So without me, you'd waste away. Next, I should be in charge, said the stomach, because I process food and give all of you energy. Next, I should be in charge, said the legs, because I carry the body wherever it needs to go. Next, I should be in charge. This is the one you've heard, Sunny?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, said the eyes, because I allow the body to see where it goes. All the other body parts laughed. Oh, sorry. I should be in charge, then, said the rectum. We'll say it that way, okay?
Yeah.
Said the said said the anus, said the rectum, because I am responsible for waste removal. All the other party parts then laughed at the rectum and insulted him. And so in a huff, he shut down tight. Kind of like they do to me. They reject me, don't talk to her, don't do this, don't take money from her. Oh, we'll steal her money. We're in charge, we're in charge, we're in charge. That's what I get all the time. Within a few days, the brain had a terrible headache. The stomach was bloated, the legs got wobbly, the eyes got watery, and the blood was toxic. They all decided that the rectum then should be the boss. The moral to this story is, even though the others do all the work, the top a-hole is usually the one in charge. And one day they'll get it through their head. And one day you'll all understand now, maybe just from this little joke, why I said that.
Yeah.
Why last week we said we're not playing with the governments anymore. I'm done. Hands off, not touching you. Have a nice day. Good luck to the Jesuits. Good luck to the legs. Good luck to the eyes. Good luck to the brain. Good luck to all you people who think you're in charge, because at the end of the day, if no money comes from me, eventually you're going to start getting bloated. You'll get sick. You're going to, your legs won't work anymore. Everything all falls apart. Because why? Because if I shut down tight, which I have, I know y'all going to fall apart.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. You can run around hacking. You can try to take a supplement or something like that, or whatever body parts do, but at the end of the day, if I do not work, you don't work. And sometimes you have to think about it from that standpoint. There's always a strategy here. There's always something going on in my head that thinks, and then what? And I go all the way to the end of the story. If I do this, that will happen. If I do this, that will happen. Those people will most likely continue with stupidity and try to still be in charge. But again, at the end of the day, it might take a couple more weeks. It might take a couple more months, but they'll figure it out one day. And that's the end of the World Situation Report for Monday. And I'm sorry if I had to repeat that joke to you, Sunny, but
no. You said it better than I recall, so it's all good.
Well, but
and it's very applicable right now.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I know y'all questioning what I'm doing, why I don't see this, why I don't see that, but maybe that doesn't even exist. Yeah. So think about it, do the math, try to phone someone local, and if you can't do that, then go find local news. See if they're reporting it. What is going on out there? What is happening really? Local news stations, a lot of times when it comes to local stories, they, correct me if I'm wrong, Sonny, you worked for a local news station. When it comes to local events in the area that you're working, they usually send somebody out there to go talk to the people, sure. At the event, and find out what people are doing, what resources people have, who you could reach out to if you have one of those great ideas. You could reach out to these people and actually get it distributed. So local news, meaning your city news or whatever, isn't quite as polluted except when they start talking about world news and world stories and nationwide stories, because those all come from Bloomberg and Reuters, and Associated Press. So if you're looking at that and you want to see what's happening in areas, even if you don't know anybody there, you can start doing some discernment by looking at this. Find out what the local stations are. I'm sure they'll send a reporter out there and, to talk to those people. Are the hurricanes really as bad as they said they were in Florida? Who got hit really hard? Instead of going, oh, it's probably a weather weapon or whatever, fine, it's a weather weapon, but that's not going to stop it if people really are floating away. It's not going to rebuild our house. It's not going to, give them food or water. If there's no power, there's no generator. There's, you can even call places and you can have them donate things, when there's a stuff like this. And if you're organizing it, if you're just willing to give some of your time, if you're willing to give 5 hours to TikTok videos that talk about people in hurricanes floating away, then you can give 5 hours of your time to doing something, and you can look at yourself in the mirror. Wow, that was a great idea. And what a great mind I have. And encourage yourself to be all that you can be instead of doom, gloom, and fear. And don't be a subject to social media, social programming. So that's about all I have to say.
Wow. Okay. So as you guys can see, what is really happening on this planet is way different than what you hear on mainstream media. It's way different than what alternative media is giving you. And all of that is really just designed to keep you going in circles, okay? Make you think that something is happening when nothing's really happening that they're talking about. It's their narrative. It's still their narrative that they're trying to push. But as you can see, we've got some really awesome things happening now. You know, the bad guys, eventually they will be gone. It may take a little bit of time, but we are moving forward with the restoration of planet Earth because that is the timeline that we're on. And we are going to do everything possible to make that as smooth as possible for humanity. You can help us, like Kim was talking about. You have to hold your light here, okay? You are here at this time for a reason. And I know it's frustrating when, you know, you turn on the TV or the radio or whatever, and you feel like there's all this gloom and doom. But that's not our reality. That is not really what's happening. It's just this matrix, and it's like the remnants of this matrix that are starting to go away. And people are waking up. We can see it in the headlines, the homeschooling stories, the surrogacy stories, things like this. It tells us that change is really happening, even if you can't see it visually right now. You got to know it in your heart that it's changing. And so that's where that discernment comes in that Kim was talking about. So what do you do with this information now? It's like, holy cow. I know it can be a lot. Hopefully you guys took some notes. Do your research. Don't just listen to us. Get out there. There's still some of this kind of content if you want to look up operatives and agencies and things like that. Some of this content is still out there. They have scrubbed a lot. I don't recommend that you use Google because Google, they censor everything now. But there are other search engines you can use. Go down some what we call rabbit holes. So start doing some research and get more and more in depth with that. And that's going to lead you to something else. My advice is to have an open mind with all of this. If you come into this thinking you know everything about religion, you know everything about the financial system, you know everything about politics, you're just going to shake your head and walk away. Don't even bother. If you can't come into this with an open mind, don't even bother. It's not even worth it. This is not your time to learn then. Come back a little bit later when everybody else is on board and you feel like you've got no choice than to believe that restoration is here because you're going to start to physically and visually see it. Okay? Ask questions. Think critically. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with other people that you care about. This podcast is designed to kind of break the ice with some people that may not subscribe to the news. You know, you may not have a subscription with UnitedNetwork.tv. That's fine. Hopefully someone shared this with you. You know, if this is your first time, thank them and start doing some research, right? If you want more information, you can subscribe. Again, that link is UnitedNetwork.tv. It gives you all of our on-demand access, all of our newscasts, all of our world situation reports in their complete form. So you were treated to a full one today. And sometimes Kim decides to do that. But for the most part, that's usually behind a paywall. So if you want to get all of those reports, and then we have other original series that we do as well. All of that is on the website. But you can also connect with us through Telegram. So we've got 3 different Telegram groups and channels I want to tell you about. The first one is CARE. It is the General Updates channel for CARE. CARE stands for the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. So we post a lot about restoration. We also do post information about our health and wellness and different videos and opportunities for you to join webinars and things like that. And, late breaking news stuff sometimes gets posted to CARE as well. So I highly recommend that. The link will be in the description below for today's episode. Also, United Network News Channel. This is the official Telegram channel for UNN. And the only thing that's posted here is our newscasts when they're released, as well as the field messenger reports I was telling you about earlier. So you can subscribe to this, and then the link that goes out for the field messenger reports, you will be able to access the complete video for free through that Telegram channel. So if you want to see all the cool things our field messengers are talking about and not just hear the recap from me, then check out that Telegram channel. And then finally, if you want to become a field messenger, and if you want to talk to someone about how to put your story together, we have UNN Field Messenger Group, and that is more of a discussion group. The other two are channels. So if someone posts something, then you can post underneath that post. But the UNN Field Messenger group, you can post anything you want at any time and, within the parameters. Obviously, we're focused on Field Messenger reports here, but there is someone there that can answer your questions and help you create your report. And hey, once you do one, it's easy, right? It's all downhill after that. It's super easy to do. And really, we just want you guys to share your experience, and we're going to help you share that experience with the whole world. All right, that's all I got, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. This is The Rundown, and I'm Sunny Gold for United Network News, signing off.